Hey, welcome back to another episode of Ecommerce On Tap, brought to you by Sourcify. I'm your host, Nathan Resnick, and today we're joined by Emanuel Rose from Strategic eMarketing. Emmanuel, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Nathan. I'm glad to be here and have this conversation with you.
So I want to start and learn more about how you founded Strategic eMarketing. What's that story? How did you get into it? Let's hear a bit of background before we dive in.
Yeah, you bet. It was about 13 years ago, and I had just gotten fired from a job I had for like 3 months. Where the job before that, I had gotten reneged on a big sales bonus, and so I had these two really bad experiences in a row, and I was like, clearly this is not working out. So what's new? What's going on? What can I get into? I've always been in sales and marketing. I'm like, social media is just catching fire, and so I threw my shingle out as a marketing consultant and was one chapter ahead of my my clients, and that was 13 years ago, and I still feel like I'm just one chapter ahead of the clients.
There we go. Well, I think it's an
Thank
interesting
you.
time to be in marketing, right? Because so many people are talking about AI and how that's going to impact marketing. And, I'm curious. I mean, what do you see on the horizon for marketing, right? Is it all about AI? Is there still authenticity to be had without AI? I mean, give us kind of the inside scoop here.
Well, I think it is exciting, and it's amazing the quality of tools that are coming out and the breadth of marketing tools, right? So the big computing, has been around since the 50s. It was kind of the beginning of the AI movement. But the, the the power of the cloud now is really amazing. I'm sure you're using it every day. I'm using tools every day, and I'm seeing new tools every day. So that part's awesome. Um, in some ways, marketing's gotten easier. In other ways, marketing's gotten more challenging because we've got to learn how to use all these tools, and we've got to use them in a way that it still feels like we're talking one to the people who want to who need the products or services that we're talking about. So yes, I think authenticity is still possible and necessary. And two, a lot of people are not paying attention to that.
Right, right. Let's dive into that kind of one-on-one authenticity. If you're a brand trying to scale up, right, it's hard to continue to have that one-on-one type of touch with your customers as you grow, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, what kind of strategic initiatives have you seen work when brands try to scale up and try to continue to have a more personal connection? And what's kind of working in today's world, if there are any kind of AI tools that you've used to continue to you know build that one-on-one touch as you grow a marketing strategy and campaign.
Yeah, I think the real secret is really a fundamental of marketing, which is that we want to continue to stratify into demographics and psychographics and understand who these groups are specifically. So if we're running a fitness product or a gym, we want to target women. We want to target 45 to 50-year-old women, and then build the message specifically for that stratified group versus all women who are going to join a gym or get a personal trainer or take a Pilates class or buy Lululemon type clothing, right? So it's about stratification and digging in to that ideal client uh, persona type, and then building material for that specifically. So um, sometimes that gets lost, right? Because we're so like we just got to put up numbers, and this is our who we think we know we want to target. Um, but we got to tailor the messages and take the time to tailor messages.
Makes sense. I mean, how do you think a brand should go about tailoring their messages, right? Because I think sometimes as you scale, messaging changes. As you try to expand your demographic or reach, messaging changes. I mean, some brands, just start focused on men, right? And then they say, hey, we want to actually launch a,
Yeah.
a woman's line or a female line. You know, what does that strategy look like? How do you kind of expand your messaging, or how do you find ways to, you know, pivot your messaging to attract a wider audience?
Yeah, well, there's a couple things. I love to actually talk to the humans who are already purchasing either my product or a direct one-to-one competitor, and so that way we can get the feedback from the actual humans, and then we get language from them, and then we can take that language and use it in the marketing as well. So that's if you don't have any customers. If you do have customers in where you're trying to reach into, then you want to take the time to get feedback from them through the review process or whatever makes sense that way, and then replicate those reviews out into the target market.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I think it's kind of crazy how so few people and marketers actually talk to the people that they're trying to market to. They don't have that human connection with their potential customers, and they just forget who they're actually trying to target sometimes. And I think it, goes a long way to, have user surveys or just call some of your previous customers and say, "Hey, why did you buy my product?" Right? And very few
Yep.
people do that. And it's really, I think, insightful to understand, oh, well, I bought it because I saw this influencer using it, or because I saw this, Facebook ad, or whatever it may be. I know a lot of what you talk about is targeting Gen Z, and in particular, this generation of up and comers. So I'm curious, for brands that are targeting Gen Z, what's kind of the marketing plan that you set forth? I mean, is it around using influencers? Is it, all focused on social media? What does that typically look like?
Yeah, when you're starting an initiative to go after a certain target like this, then especially with the Z's, they're super attuned, like you're talking about influencers or what we call the social CEO, right? So the Kylie Jenners and Richard Bransons of Elon Musk, those are the rock stars of CEOs. But a small brand can do the same thing with um, first of all, accepting that they need to tell the story, and that this demographic wants to see not just solid products and services, but they want to understand who the CEO is, who the company is, what they stand for, what kind of community involvement, what kind of staffing, and and even want to see about your family and some of the things that you're doing in your off time. So this very simple content calendar of Monday mornings, 8 a.m., 9 a.m., the CEO with the iPhone gives the 90-second video catch up of here's the employee of the week, here's my favorite customer, here's a fundraiser that I went to, here's a product or service that's new or why we built it. But that 90 seconds encapsulation from the CEO, hit that video, send that video out to marketing or out to the agency, let them work the magic to post that where it needs to go and create social and all those things that happen from that content.
Got it. Makes a lot of sense. I'm curious too, because a lot of companies, have faced challenges with different Google updates, and, they want to have a strong blog strategy. I know you blog quite a bit. How have you seen that change over time? I mean, you've been,
Mm.
running a marketing agency and consultancy practice for a long time now. And so you've seen
Yeah.
how blogging has changed quite a bit. I guess maybe give us a brief history of what you've seen change, and then any strategies that you're implementing right now to further expand your
Yeah.
blogging initiatives.
Yeah. I mean, there was a point in which a blog was the whole product, right? Like companies would just have a blog site, and people would go in and actually communicate the way that we do on social media posts. And that's morphed over time. The blog had been the hub of all of our content strategy. Now it really is video as the hub, and because you can take and then create blog posts from all your videos, obviously, and so it's second in the chain versus being the hub now. It's still important. We still have to have good SEO. We still have to have good content for people to do self-education. We need the content for social media posts, and we want to show that we are thought leaders or we're up with trends. So the blog's still important, but really the best practice and the most important thing for a brand is to use video as the precursor of it, and then you have all the options in the marketing universe now to use that content.
Makes a lot of sense. For an e-commerce brand specifically, I think very many of these brands overlook blogging and they just focus on social. Have you
Yeah.
seen different brands repurpose their social media into blogs, or kind of what does that look like?
Yeah, it's a little bit more challenging to do it that way because you're going short form to long form. But it is a way. I mean, if you're going to use Claude or Chat GPT, then you can't take those shorter posts, add some keyword in a voice prompt to it, and then build out these 700, 800 word blog posts from those. Of course, you still have to have some human editing in there to get rid of um, all the weird stuff that's
Yeah,
still happening. But yeah, it's easier to repurpose that now than it has been for sure.
got it. Makes sense. In this kind of holiday season, what do you think is the biggest driver for growth for an e-commerce brand, right? Is it kind of your traditional social
Ooh.
media channels? I mean, they're facing some headwinds right now, and just kind of curious what you've seen, from a marketing strategy as you plan to launch some of these holiday offers.
Yeah, I think the Black Friday, Cyber Monday routine is still an important sequence. Um, what I really like to always engage my top spenders as much as possible with great offers during this time of the year. Um, I think also the Gen Z doesn't really like to get email marketing. They don't care about that. They don't want to get it in their text. So the way to kind of to trigger those guys is to kind of put the marketing into the notifications about shipping or where the package is or where the status of the order is, and so that's where they're open to other offers typically versus like I'm an X and the boomers who are older, we're still consuming email marketing, but you're in an avalanche time, right? Like it's the number of messages we're getting from now until the end of the year is overwhelming truly for all of us. So going to the people who know you the best, to me that's the place where you're going to be able to mine the best ROI during holiday.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Well, Emmanuel, as we wrap up here, my final question to you is, what do you think is the biggest unlock, or have you seen to be the biggest unlock for a brand to go from, let's say $1 million to $5 or $10 million in sales? I mean, we have a lot of e-commerce founders that are listening in.
Sure.
They're at that, few hundred K, maybe million mark. They want to start growing. What can they do, or what strategies can you share, last minute here to help these brands grow?
Is to look at your allocation and your pay-per-click spending and how you're using your social media ad spend, and to make sure that you're like we're talking about that you're really stratifying and micro niching into very clear demos and psychographics to make clear, precise offers that run through the whole funnel, right? That and create a trial, whether that's educational or a small purchase, but so that you're running those ads into trial, and then you're able to remarket them after they have some experience with the brand.
Got it. Got it. Well, Emmanuel, thanks again for coming on E-commerce on Tap, brought to you by Sourcify. If people want to get in touch or follow you, where can they find you?
EmanuelRose.com. That's the easiest spot.
All right, there we go. EmanuelRose.com. Thank you again for coming on, and thank you everyone for listening in to this episode of E-commerce on Tap, brought to you by Sourcify.